Mindset, a daily dose of practical wit and wisdom with a professional educator and trainer, Amazon best-selling author, United States Marine, television and radio host, Paul G. Markle. Each episode will focus on positive and productive ways to strengthen your mindset and help you improve your relationships, career goals, and overall well-being. Please welcome your host, Paul G. Markle.
Hello and welcome back to Morning Mindset. Yes, we are back with brand new episodes. I hope that everyone out there that is a regular listener took the time to catch up on any previous episodes that they had not listened to, or maybe you listened to some old ones and did some replays and reinforce what you'd already thought. But we're going to do some fresh ones now. We're closing in on, oh, look at that. According to my show notes, this is number 94. We're closing in on 100 morning mindsets. And my producer, Zachary, said that he's going to do something special for the 100th episode, so keep an eye out for that. Now, I was on the road, and it gave me the opportunity to reload my quiver of topics to speak on morning mindset. One of the things that really struck a chord with me or stood out was the examples of American exceptionalism on display. We went and visited many of our friends and partners. We have another show, as many of you know. I went and visited a number of my friends and partners and a lot of fans and listeners as well. And by the time we got to the end, I had an opportunity we had a lot of time in the car, hours upon hours upon hours of driving here and there, and it gave me the opportunity to think. And what I saw was American exceptionalism, or the American dream, on display. How often do we hear that anymore, or talk about it, or discuss it? Or how often is American exceptionalism promoted and endorsed by the people in our state capitals and our nation's capital that are supposed to be our leaders? They're supposed to be our leaders. They're supposed to inspire us. Well, I don't see that anymore. I don't see that coming from the state capitals or from the nation's capital. I don't see people who are supposed to be leaders going out and extolling the virtues of the American dream and American exceptionalism. What I see is exactly the opposite. And what I wanted to talk about today is American exceptionalism from the aspect of you never know what you're going to accomplish until you've accomplished it. And many times people won't know what they have accomplished until they're gone, until they've gone to their great reward. One of the companies that we stopped and talked to was founded by what would now be the grandfather of the current president of the company. His grandfather founded the company in 1939. He saw a need, or what he perceived to be a need, and he came up with an idea, and he started a business, ran it out of his basement. His wife did the books, and for years it was a one-man operation. But it grew, and he took risks. He moved out of the basement, rented a storefront. And anytime you rent a business front, anytime you rent business property, it's a risk because you don't know if you're going to succeed. You don't know if you're going to be able to pay the bills. If business all of a sudden is off, or you lose business, or there's a downturn in the economy or whatever, the people who are leasing you the business property and your creditors, they don't care that the economy is down. They still want their money. So it's a risk. But this gentleman, he took a risk, and before you know it, he was hiring one employee and two and three and four. His oldest son, when he was ready to retire, took over the business and grew it and expanded it. And then his son, which would be the grandson of the founder, he took over from his dad. And now in 2018, we're talking about a company that employs over 400 people in a small community in Iowa. That's a pretty big deal. If you're in New York City, or if you're in, LA, or you're in Chicago or whatever, and you say, oh, that business, employs 400 people, that's not that big of an impact on the community, or at least you don't see it as one. But when you're in a small Iowa town and 400 people in that town are employed by this business, it's a big deal. And why are 400 people able to get up every day and go to a job that they enjoy and that, appreciates them? They're able to do that because one guy had an idea, he was inspired, and he started in his basement. There's another one that we visited, and the company is only about 10, 11 years old now. But it was a similar situation. The founder had an idea. He perceived a problem. He saw a hole in the market, and no one was filling that hole. And so he decided that he was going to fill that hole. He was going to come up with a solution. And he started at a workbench in his garage. And he went out and he tinkered, and he came up with an idea, and he refined the idea, and he changed the idea, and he modified it. And then he came up against what a lot of people do when they start turning their hobbies into businesses. He had a full-time job, and he was also turning his hobby into a full-time job. And I talked to him, and he sat down with his wife, and they had to make a decision. He said, hey, I really think that I'm onto something here. I really think that I can do something with this business, but I can't do both. I can't do both anymore. I can't work my normal full-time job and do this. I just don't have enough hours in the day. I don't have enough energy in my body. And they prayed on it, and he said, we had that kitchen table discussion. And it's scary because people like to be comfortable. You like to be comfortable. I like to be comfortable. Everyone likes to have comfort and security. And maybe you have a full-time job that it isn't, it's not your dream job. It's not fantastic. It's not what you thought you'd be doing when you were 14 years old or 18 years old, but it's a job. And you get to go there every day, and it's pretty steady. But you have this dream, this idea. And you realize that in order to make that come true, you're not going to be able to have the time to do the full-time job. Now, it's a risk. What if you decide to reach out and turn that hobby or that dream or desire into a job? You decide you want to do that, and it fails, or there's that always that looming shadow over your head of like, what if I leave this good job and I pursue this and it doesn't work out? Well, then I'm screwed. Then I'm in trouble. You have to take a risk. And most people, or at least many people, won't do that. They won't take the risk, and that's fine. But in the examples that I saw people that took risks, and not only did it benefit them, it didn't just benefit them, it benefited all those around them. In the current topic that I'm talking about, with the guy out in his garage, that business has grown now, and they have 40 full-time employees. So in 10 years, it went from one guy sitting in his garage doing everything himself to now a business that employs 40 full-time employees. And this is another small business in Missouri, so in a small town, relatively small town. So 40 people now have their livelihood because of the idea that one person had, and the motivation they had, and the risks that they took, the emotional risks and the financial risks that they took to do that. And ladies and gentlemen, that really is the American dream. That is American exceptionalism. It's creating something that is going to grow even larger than you ever thought it was going to be. I think a lot of these, if you ask the founders of these companies, and they said, man, if I could grow this company big enough to hire 2 or 3 people, if I could grow this company big enough so that it would pay for, my living, my individual salary, that would be great. But these people, these Americans, they took this opportunity. They took the opportunity that they had because they live in the United States of America, and they did something with it. And what they ended up with was an idea and a reality that was far bigger than they ever thought that they could have. So I know many of you may be out there, and you may be motivated. You may have an idea. You may have something that you're really passionate about. And you think, well, if I do this, it may not work out. No, it might not work out. How many times we talked about Edison, and we talked about Ben Franklin and Thomas Edison and all these guys that, they failed 20, 30, 40, 50 times. I think Edison historically had over 50, maybe it was 100 failed attempts before he succeeded. So don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to take a risk. Don't be afraid to have faith. And you may turn that American dream into genuine American exceptionalism. And I just wanted to take a moment and share that with you because I think it's important because not everybody's talking about that today. Most people are talking about, well, you need to have a safety net and you need to make sure that, that if you fail, the government will bail you out and yada, yada. No, that's not what America is all about. America is about individual citizens having dreams and ideas and motivation, taking risks, working. If you want to work a 40-hour-a-week job, go ahead and work for somebody else. If you want to work a 60 to an 80-hour-a-week job, go ahead and work for yourself. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm glad to be back behind this microphone. I'm glad that you're back listening. I am your host, Paul Markle, and I will talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for spending time with us today. To get show notes, submit a topic request, and for more from your host, Paul G. Markle, visit morningmindsetpodcast.com. That's morningmindsetpodcast.com. Please leave a review for this podcast on your favorite podcast player. We appreciate your time and effort, and we look forward to reading your honest feedback.